Well, I probably screwed a whole bunch of stuff up in there. I'm gonna have to fix some things. We'll get to it. We also have a Data Wasteland with us tonight. I need to get him on the screen. I forgot how to do that. How are you doing, Data?
I'm doing okay. How are you, Num?
Oh, I wish I were more numb. That's the truth. Okay. No,
I'd
it's
like to
not
thank
broken.
I'd like to thank everybody in chat for coming and listening to us, spending your Saturday.
Absolutely. And boy, is it a Saturday. Now, what do we have for you guys? Well, being that it's Saturday and I myself am tired, we're going to do kind of a sit back, relax, randomish chat kind of show. Now, Data, I know you know this, but the rest of the people we're chatting with tonight don't know that I actually spent hours the other day just following a rabbit hole.
Well,
And
there's lots and lots of rabbits out there.
you know what else lives in rabbit holes? Other creatures. And you don't always
Foxes.
find what you're looking for.
Yeah, sometimes it's a skunk.
Oh, man. So I go down this rabbit hole. And you know those things you know that don't really affect you, but you kind of find some correlation with yourself that makes you go, okay, that touches a little close to home. That's weird. That's something I can kind of see, look into it. Okay, it's not what I thought it was, but it's still, I need to walk away for a little while. You know those?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I
And
had those many years ago.
it's
Now it's
hard.
just, I've forgotten more than most people know about this stuff.
It is really hard to explain how you feel after going through a whole bunch of conspiracy theory stuff and some of it making so much sense. You get a little scared, and then other stuff making so little sense you're not sure whether it's worth believing. So,
Well, I mean, being that you have a family and kids, you're always thinking about them too.
I stay grounded. I stay grounded pretty well, but I keep my mind spooling on what it is that I learn, and then I'm curious. I have to ask, what is it? Is it right or is it wrong? Is it all conspiracy or is it some of it embedded in a little bit of truth, maybe?
Well, remember, the only reason people call conspiracy theories crazy now is because the CIA wanted it that way.
Oh, okay. Somebody wanted it that way.
Yep.
Maybe it's only crazy. Here's the thing. Here's a weird question. Let's create a correlation. Most people believe the LGBTQIA, whatever, is crazy. And we believe it's crazy because it's a minority of the population pushing for something that the rest of us don't quite believe or aren't inclined to be behind.
Right.
So a conspiracy theory kind of has the same motif. There's a very small percent of the population, though a devoted percent, that wants
Yep.
us to believe what they see and wants answers to find out if what they're seeing is real, but they're not getting the answers to know for
Well,
sure.
yeah. Well, again, I don't think you'll ever get the foundational facts, but you always get these glimmers and glimpses, and you find a off the wall website, or you find a very down to earth government website, and it makes you take a step back because you're like, wait a second. On one hand, I've got this conspiracy theory that the elites want to kill off most of the population because they believe that the earth can't handle any more than 9 billion people. And then you find a military website that shows population estimates by 2025, and it shows the US losing two-thirds of the population, the UK losing two-thirds of the population. I mean, what do they know that we don't?
Mm. Is it
It's a
loss of
reputable
the
website.
population, or would it
Well, I
possibly
don't know.
be by other means?
No, it's an actual. I mean, when they say
Is
the
that the site that
population,
you sent me earlier, or was that just a
yeah,
general data site?
no, that's the site. It's called Deagle.com. They're a military industrial um, complex website. They're all about military hardware and orders, and you can go to any country on that site and see exactly how many military airplanes, missiles, bombs they've ordered or have been delivered. And they have a estimate, a look into the future on all the countries of the world, and it seems like the more developed countries are going to have a very large population um, drop.
I don't know why. Keep going. I
Well, yeah,
understand
I mean,
that. Uh
it
oh.
shows what it shows today's population of the United States at 327 million, and then it shows the estimated population of the United States in 2025 at what was it, 47 million. So yeah, I mean, it's a bit odd. Now you get a conspiracy theorist that runs along this, and they're like, "Aha, a smoking gun." Of course, it's just the smoke. It's not the gun, but
Right.
it's still the smoke. So
Oh, there is so much to get into. So when we look at this, I know we've taken a brief look at the effects. Now we haven't, and this should be a show for one day. If not, we'll discuss it today. But I'm not prepared for this one because I haven't looked into it much.
right,
There's the three phases of the elimination or what to do with the population. So we'll hold that aside.
okay,
Now I almost forget where. Okay, so depopulation can happen in a lot of ways, and we all understand there are different methods of killing people. And when governments employ these methods, they're kind of efficient. Wouldn't you say when you use, weapons to kill people, they're as efficient as you plan them to be, right?
yeah, but I don't think they can do something like that. I don't think. I think it would have to be a lot more subtle. I think it would have to be something along the lines of germ warfare or
So
weather
you're saying it'd
warfare.
have to be something airborne, saying, and and I was kind of headed towards that, towards weather. It would have to be something in the air, something that would spread quickly and easily.
The big thing now with the new cell phone system coming out, the what is it, the G5 or is it G6 now? It keeps on going up and up
5G,
and
I
up.
think, is coming out. Maybe it is.
Yeah,
I
I
don't. Yeah, I think it's 5G.
I mean, there are studies going all the way back to when cell phones first came out, and studies when radar first came out. Well, radar, microwave transmitting waves, basically radiation. And in actuality, it's low radiation that affects the eggs in a female, and over a long extended time, people get sick. People get brain cancer. I mean, it's strange too because you see it all the time now. I mean, you're always hearing about somebody dying of brain cancer. And a lot of times it's outspoken figures.
Here's a weird one. The weather manipulation gets into a kind of an odd conspiracy that I had mentioned earlier. Do you think that there are technologies so far superiorly advanced to what's on the commercial market that the government has that much of an advantage? Like,
I
how
think
far in advance to our technology do you think the government, or even the, what are we gonna call the supreme organization who's supposedly in control?
the shadow government, the elitists, the globalists, the banksters,
Let's just call it so. The supreme organization. We'll call it so. So
the pinnacle, the
I think
the
about
the all-seeing eye.
I think about the control that these people supposedly have over these things, and what it is they're doing, and what it is they're manipulating, and how, and then I stop and think, okay, so how would they get there without people knowing? So in every
But
conspiracy, don't we have like porch sitters?
but in a way, don't we have people knowing? Don't we have, somebody comes forward and then their history is erased, or they're called a conspiracy theorist, which means a nut.
I suppose.
I mean, when JFK was assassinated, and people said this smells fishy,
It really smelled
and
like the sewer. They just didn't
and
know it.
yeah, well, it smelled fishy.
That
Yeah, you had some
was
guy.
a pun.
It was a pun. Um, but you had some guy who barely knew how to shoot, with a crappy weapon, and pulling off, an amazing three shots that even the professional marksman couldn't handle, and shooting through trees and whatnot. So people
Okay.
started looking into it, and a big surge of books and people coming out with this and that, and doctors coming forward and nurses coming forward at the hospital saying, "This is the strangest shit." I mean, we found the perfect bullet sitting outside on a gurney. It was untouched. That was the magic bullet. I mean, so the CIA decided, listen, it told everybody in the media that it had control over um, anything like this, anything conspiratorial. You have to start looking at it as crazy, and
Hmm.
it's now almost the definition of conspiracy theory.
TA says, and I'm sorry, I'm picking certain things out. Sometimes I'm picking them out and I'm not getting to read them because I want to say something else, and I apologize. But that's what happens when we have two people chatting. We try to keep the show rolling. But TA says, as a rule of thumb, the military complex is at least 50 years ahead of what is divulged to the public. Well,
I would think
here's the
so. I mean,
question. Here's the
if
question, though. You would say that normally, but how can they maintain 50 years in advance? What is 50 years worth of technology? I don't
well,
think they can stay 50 years. I think they can maybe at best stay 10,
no,
maybe
no, no.
15 years
What
ahead.
makes you think? What makes you think that? I mean, if you know
Because
anything,
think about how quickly. This is my thought process. If the government is staying a step ahead of us on technology and everything, and the technology that they no longer use that would be inferior to the technology they have access to would then be decommissioned to the public slowly, bits and parts of it taken away and released so other people can figure stuff out.
I'll
If
give you
it's
an
not
ex-
already being done.
I'll give you an example, and here's a real simple, basic example. Hard drives on computers. It wasn't more than 10 years ago that a hard drive over 100 gigs would be priced through the roof and completely unnecessary.
Price through the roof or built through the roof?
Priced through the roof and completely unnecessary. and usually the maximum hard drive was maybe 80, 60. Now they're selling 3 terabyte, 4 terabyte. Now, why do you think that's trickled down to the public? And why? Where is it coming from? I'll tell you where it's coming from. It's coming from the NSA having to store every damn word said, email written, text message typed in worldwide. They have to have unbelievable amounts of storage. Well, I'm sure they're way past single terabyte digits, and they're in the double terabyte and triple terabyte digits. And in 10 years, we'll get those double and triple terabyte digits.
There you
But
go.
right now,
There you go. That's what you just illustrated. What I was saying though is that we're not necessarily 50 years behind the military, but
well,
10 to 15.
that's computer hardware. I mean,
I know, but understand that when we move forward, things that advance, once the military figures it out, it's not long before the components and the parts that the military needs have to be produced. Those components and parts become available and used on other things. People are smart. They start to realize how things work together and put it together themselves. So let's turn this into the direction of a conspiracy theory and things passed down from government to corporation, possibly. Now, hi, Cryptic. I see Ola.
hey, how are you, Cryptic? Hey there, Heinrich. Welcome, John Doe.
Heinrich, TA. Did I see TCA or just TA? Just TA today. Okay. JC and everybody else. Hello. I'm not trying to ignore you guys.
Smoke if you got them.
Before and after the show, definitely, but not during. The thought process I'm having is we've looked at this, if not directly on the show, you and I have now looked at this. Whether manipulation has been a government activity for, let's say, a good 40 to 60 years. Without definitive proof, 40 to 60 years the government has been working on types
there is proof.
There is proof, but it's indecisive, some of it, so we're going to leave the open-ended era of 40 to 60 years since they've been doing it. There's evidence that they've been trying since the 40s-ish, but
right. Well, I mean, even back then they were able to seed clouds and make it rain, but now it's gone a little beyond that. They can make clouds appear, disappear. They can change the direction of hurricanes. They can start earthquakes.
It became interesting. I did watch one that in the late 50s, there was a very decisive study. There was an aircraft carrier that had a couple of ships on it that were responsible for seeding clouds for storms for the Vietnam War. What year was that? Sorry, I'm not that old. Wasn't it the 70s?
Yeah, the late 60s, early 70s.
All right,
there was a report. There was a massive flood in the 50s in England. A small town was practically washed away. They got like a year's worth of rain in 2 hours. 35 people, I think, died in it. And later, it was said that was also a weather test project by the British.
And it's so hard because there's a lot. I haven't been over a lot of them. The one I was looking at was from a pilot from the Vietnam War. And what he was saying was the tasks they were given was to make non-rainy days rainy so the roads were impassable.
Right. There was one way to get supplies to the Viet Cong, and that road was washed out using weather control technology.
Cryptic likes my bot.
But going back to what you said about the I guess it depends on what sphere you're talking about, because I mean, if you go to like something as foundational as airplanes and hardware like that. I mean, we've kind of talked about it before. The black, not the Black Hawk, the the SR-71.
Right.
That was a plane. That was a plane that's it's mothballed now, but that was a plane that for a very long time nobody knew about. It was a black budget project. It flew Mach 3. It was designed before computers. It was designed with slide rules. And it was designed when a brand new 57 Chevy was at the Chevy dealership in the showroom.
So
So,
about
I mean,
60. Well, wait, what year is
think
it?
about the
It's almost
technology.
2020.
I
So I
mean,
guess 80 years ago in some cases. Damn, I'm getting a little
but
old.
think about that technology jump. Yeah, at the same time, jets were just coming out, for commercial traffic.
Oh, shit. Thank you. Awesome. Thank you so much, Cryptic. That's very much appreciated. Um, keep going, Data. I'm sorry. I know you heard that too.
Yeah, I didn't know what the hell was happening.
Somebody was dropping change in our tin can.
Oh, very nice. Thank you very much.
Um,
Yeah. So I mean, you have that. That was a huge jump. Now they mothballed that project, but they didn't. And we sort of know about the stealth fighter, and we sort of know about the flying wing bomber, but what don't we know about?
oh, you know what I should do? You know what else? The way this guy was talking about how they flew the missions, he was able to explain something that we're just on the verge of understanding now. So I guess this is where 50 years ago information and stuff is starting to come loose, but
John,
technology is quicker.
you're right, John. The Jets weren't first coming out. They had been out, but I sort of meant that at the time, all the biggest jet was a 707. It maybe flew at about 500 miles per hour, but you have this other plane in comparison that's flying thousands and thousands of miles per hour. I mean, literally a quantum leap over the technology we knew about, in the mainstream.
Who knows what they're working on that we don't know about that's leading to things that we're inadvertently testing because other parts and stuff are on the market.
Well, exactly. I mean, we had to come up with a hell of a lot of magnesium for that plane too. I mean, just to assemble it, we had to come up with new construction techniques to assemble that plane. That plane leaked like a sieve on the ground, and only until the body panels heated up would it seal and stop leaking. So, I mean, there were a lot of experiments and ideas tested in that on that airframe. But what do we have now? I mean, we have pictures of weather satellites where we have what they call donuts on a rope, where we have a contrail that looks like a string of donuts strung on a rope, and people are saying that this is the new replacement for that plane, and it flies even faster, and it's suborbital, and it's pilotless, and it has mini nukes that could be launched from it, and
Oh,
so on and
hold
so
on.
on and
I
so
got
on.
it. Cryptic did have a message. I need to start paying attention to these. I haven't had a donation in a while. Cryptic's message is test, test. Test successful, sir. Very successful. Um, the weather manipulation thing gets into a weird factor, though. I actually, you know what? To hell with kinda. I believe weather manipulation attempts and experiments are going on. It's absolute. It's not only a fact of me believing it. I have seen footage that proves it is a fact not conspiracy footage, but actual footage from congressional and Senate House floors, from question committees about the
Weather
help
control.
me here, help me here, HARP,
HARP. Right.
HARP, that it is a fact that tests and studies are being done and that the government did use the facility and that is what that facility is designed for. The direct purpose or instrumentation of the facility isn't very well known. There's a little suspicion as to what it can and can't do, but it is responsible for weather manipulation, studying, and effect and control.
Oh, stop harping on it.
Well, that much I got, and that is what makes it hard. Is this is an actual
Supposedly there are
clue.
there's harp stations all around the world too. There isn't just one
And it's
anymore.
not. It's weird when you start looking into HARP, though. It's not just about our Earth level weather. It's about environmental weather all the way out to the ionosphere, trying to help either improve or degrade as well as test the ionosphere versus other chemicals that are released up there.
I think they were using it for a lot of different things. They were also using the ionosphere to bounce communications off. They were using the ionosphere to bounce a radar that would penetrate the ocean, literally making the ocean disappear so you could see every damn submarine floating everywhere in the world. They were experimenting with a lot of things, and now they've moved on to what we don't know, something even more advanced.
Okay, and there's so much to this weather manipulation. I want to keep adding into it, and I'm trying to figure out how to add into it. Do we believe? And I'm hoping I'm building up to this. Do we believe that the government is in possession and or inherently in control of technology that is far superior than the rest of us in ways of maybe absolute working nanotechnology? We've
I
all
I
heard it
I
being tested. It's out there, but does the government have working?
I don't think it's the government. I don't think. See, the stuff in the black world can't be controlled by the government because the government is too open. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's a conglomerate of global corporations that are funded by black projects. And as you know, even the government doesn't know what it spends on what where the money is going when it comes to black projects and the black budget.
That's kind of scary. It really is.
It really
And
is.
the reason I ask this, and I know you sort of know, is what would be the best way, if not to necessarily eliminate, possibly even, but maybe to even control or direct a population to not care or to not live as long or
Well,
to be
who
susceptible or not
says
susceptible
that
to
isn't
something.
who says that isn't happening right now? I
Now,
mean, look at the people out there talking about. Look at the how polarized the country is right now. How you could show an SJW or a not a Bible thumping, but a voter thumping. Um, uh, what the hell is her name? Damn, I forgot it. Hillary Clinton. Okay, you could you could take a Hillary Clinton supporter and show and literally, let's say, show that Trump has done everything he promised to do, and he's done it all. He's pulled the country out of a economic slump. He's going to rebuild all the ghettos. He's going to fix education, and you could even though it hasn't happened. I'm just saying, hypothetically, if he did all these things, what do you think the answer to that Hillaryite would be?
What was the
I
original
personally, I
Hillary Wright
personally
question?
think, I personally think that all those facts would go into one ear and out the other because the belief system has been manipulated and entrenched so strong that they couldn't comprehend it. And then you flip the side to the Trump supporter, and you could show all the damn miserable things that he's done in the past, all the lies, all the downright ridiculousness, and that Trump supporter will go, "He's a patriot. He's for us." You could show him that he's never been for anybody but himself or his family for forever. It doesn't matter. He's an American through and through. So I mean, either way, right now we are so divided. And who says that media, even beyond the speeches and we know that media is corrupted and it's all written in one spot and everybody just regurgitates the same thing. But what if it's even beyond that? What if it's like a subliminal signal, literally, reinforcing these words to be like almost engraved in somebody's skull, unchangeable,
Skull. Engraved in their skull.
unchangeable, even when presented with fact, unchangeable.
There was a division of the government that answered to the Majestic 12 in the United States that was referred to as what would have been the Men in Black Agency, JCTV. So there actually was an agency that were Men in Black, but the agency wasn't called Men in Black. And they were responsible for what you're asking about, for what the movie kind of portrayed, to be honest. Think of how diluted things are right now. There's actually a conspiracy saying whatever the movie had was real, but it came out before the
Now,
movie
let me
did.
ask you this: wouldn't it be perfect for people to have movies like this, just so later the people in the know can point to the movie and point to the conspiracy theorists and go, "That's where he's getting it from."
Except the conspiracy theory that leads to the Men in Black came out in 1984, and the movie came out in 2000 what?
Right. But it doesn't matter because time moves. So in '90s, when we're talking about it, they'll just point to that movie and go, "That's where that guy's got that from."
People are dumb. Got it. Yes, I'm the numbskull. Welcome to the show. How you doing? Nice to meet you. Hey.
Well, what was the line from Men in Black? A person can be smart, but people are dumb. In other words, the second you get them into a group, then it's the group mentality.
Oh, there's. Let's not even. I don't want to psychoanalyze because there's socio adaptation issues and principles there where people have to and want to get along with people around them to ensure their place in a society. It's a weird evolution. We're not getting in there. That's not what this show's about. This show's about freaking the mind out on the edge of what could and would be real. So, we think there could be nanobots. The government has technology far beyond what we have access to. We think there could be conspiracies beyond what we know. The weather is being controlled, and I have some weird thoughts about the weather control. We'll keep going on that in a moment, and so much more. So how is it? And Data, you've looked at a lot of conspiracy theorists. Let's delve into this. How is it that after hundreds of years of conspiracies and all of the evolution and the revolution and the techno evolution that we've gone through, how is it, with all the capability in the world plan to decimate populations, that we're all alive?
Good
How are we
question.
here?
Well, technology, and not the people in charge, or the people that were trying to control, didn't have the technology to do it. They had a plan, and they have a long term goal, and they have people put in positions, and on many levels of corporate and governmental uh, areas and fields, even the scientific field and the educational field. But they just never had. I mean, they've been doing it with wars. I mean, every war was the war to end all wars, and many people were killed.
And they're just going to get worse because you get more efficient at killing, you get more efficient at war. This long pause between wars doesn't help because it increases the advancements that we're making between wars, the knowledge, the training, the new things that we learn,
Well,
the muscle
think,
memory issues.
think about it too. I mean, even though there has been a long time since World War II, I don't think there's been a point on this earth where there hasn't been killing going on. There hasn't been a genocide here, and a overthrow there, and a
Honestly, couldn't we even think that would be. Let's take this back because I've thought about this before. This is the sociopathic part of my mind working. Take away the feelings and look at it just from an abstract, objective point of view. And I've thought since I was younger, and you learn in school about the wars and the times between them, that it almost seems the longer you go without a large physical confrontation, in our case, on the scale we're talking, a large world war or a multinational war, the longer you go between them, the worse they seem to be. Does that make sense? Like when a war breaks out, it's like everybody wants in because they've been waiting for it.
well, it's always been the case that every war has made a hell of a lot of money for very few people.
And it's not
So
even just that. As an inherent part of being any species, if there's too many lions in a certain area, if there's too many of a species in a certain area, they'll start killing each other off to make sure that they can provide food for themselves as opposed to others.
right,
If there's two different wasps' nests and
they'll
they're too
also
close together, they'll kill
they'll,
each other off for dominance over that area.
when it comes to lions, if there isn't enough food, they'll even kill their offspring.
Right. And we humans don't realize it, but we have that same inert ability. When we start to feel threatened, we get aggressive. When we feel like things
It's
aren't
a
right.
fight,
And please don't
fight,
make this as a positive reinforcement to Trump because that's not what I'm trying to correlate here. I'm just saying that when
it's a
people
fight or
feel.
flight response. When you're
Yeah.
when you're cornered, something happens, something a switch clicks, and what you wouldn't normally do, you do.
Now, think about it in the way I'm thinking. And we're currently reaching a almost stagnantly angry population. Everybody's getting angry at everything right now. I know we're a little off topic, but it's kind of half of the people requested random, so we're going to be half random. We're hitting a point where stabbings, bombings, shootings, breaking glass, Molotov cocktails, small riots, Nazi accusations, blaming people for things. We're getting a point where the small civil unrest is an issue. People are in turmoil. Things are happening that not everybody's okay with. Their social life is being disrupted. There's a lot of people. It's getting crowded. We're competing for everything. Everybody's at each other's throat. The competition's just getting so likely that eventually that at each other's throat is going to be ripping out each other's throat. It's not going to be little episodes of violence. It's going to be cities and towns and states, countries, small provinces breaking out into war of aggression between the side that is continuing in one direction and a side that doesn't want things to change, and it's not going to become about what they're fighting over. It's going to become about they want to be the winner, and there's going to be a big battle. Does any it's almost we as a species are getting to a point where we're about to start tearing at each other. And that point is changing because of the number of people and the advancements we make and the different things we provide. But we have areas of the world that would happily go to war to take another area because theirs are desolate.
Yeah, maybe.
And it just seems like an inherent. I'm just speaking off the cuff here. It just seems like an inherent part of our existence on this planet is if something gets too overpopulated or too difficult to move around and do what you're supposed to and things don't work properly, people get more aggressive. And we all know with elements it gets, too many quarks or
You
protons
know,
and neutrons and
I,
it starts moving faster and heating up.
I think that you're talking about the baser instincts of humanity, and the only hope is education and a little a little bit of self mind control. There's a saying that the only thing you can control are your own emotions. You can't control anything else.
Yeah, but you can't on a primal level, which you can overcome most of the
Well,
time, but not all
well,
the time. You can't always control your emotions.
on a primal level, no. If you can take a step back, if you can let reason seep in to that primitive ape man,
To
you know,
where? From
maybe,
where?
huh?
What
From where?
reason? From what
Well,
side? Whose
no,
reason? What
reason
perspective of
as
reason?
in the thought process, not the reason to do something, but reasoning. Let your mental mind, permeate the ape man, so he maybe drops the club for a second.
My water bottle's
But
finally
yes,
empty.
things seem to be getting to a point where everything, not just one thing, but everything is going to hit the fan. I mean, you look at the dollar when a lot of countries start opting out of the petrodollar, we're fucked. Okay, you look at the government. We've got a Congress that doesn't seem to listen to anything we say. Does exactly what it wants and nothing about what we want. We have a world government that keeps on pushing and pushing and pushing to control everything. We have social issues where we have women that hate men. We have men that are fed up with women. We have other people that don't want to be a man or a woman, and other people that want to be something in between or an animal, and other people that want to completely change their entire existence. They want to be an alien. I mean, it's really coming off the rails in every aspect
Speaking of
of
going off
life.
the rails, um, I I believe some points of some things are true. The problem is that there's so many people around that everybody's getting lit about everything that hits them. So minor issues are being embroiled to seem like such large issues because there's no large issues
And that's the thing too.
to
Isn't that
compare them to.
couldn't that be the whole point? Couldn't that be what media is pushing? Couldn't that be the big distraction?
Okay,
Yes, your
now
whole life is about gender. Why is your whole life about gender? Because the media doesn't want you to know that there's 15 families taking literally everything that isn't nailed down that's worth anything from you and from your future.
Pinoid News. The fuck you talking about? Welcome to the chat. It's conspiracy night. Every Saturday night at 7, we try to cover conspiracies and we're not trying to judge whether they're right or wrong or anything like that. We're just you never know what you don't. Or, yeah, sorry. Let me say it right. You
Don't
don't know
know what
what you
you
don't
don't
know.
know, you know?
Uh, how are you supposed to know these exist? What parts of them are true and fake? What's planted in reality? How much do you realize? How much do you understand? And how much do you believe? I don't know if it would make you be helpless. I can understand the premise of believing in conspiracy theories. However, you have to understand, I don't think Data, even being as knowledgeable as he is, completely believes in these conspiracy theories. It's not about believing in them, but understanding them.
It isn't a religion, but it's nice to know where the boot that's kicking your ass is coming from.
Here's a better thing, and this is where the rabbit
I
hole
mean,
is, and
here,
then I
let's
want
say
to get
this.
back to the weather.
Let's here. Wait a second. Let's say this. Let's say that the plan is for financial collapse in the United States, so that there is a new currency that is made called the Amero. And this currency is going to go across borders. It's going to go across Canada, the United States, and Mexico. And it'll be one currency. Okay. And you know this is coming down the pike. And you're like one of the few people that know that this is coming down the pike. Is it really important to put a whole hell of a lot of money into savings? Making a little savings book, the numbers go higher and higher, or is it more important to try to find some silver and stash that somewhere?
Ooh, what if there is no plan? You know what? Pinoid News, I'm with you. I completely believe that there's probably no inherent plan, that there's just a bunch of dots people are connecting because of situation and circumstance and events. However, there's a reason they're looking at those dots. And I
Enric,
try a little bit to look past the crazy and what they're looking at and try to take their story apart by the events and the inclusions that are used and determine whether the events and the inclusions are accurate. And then
uh,
try to go, okay, but this part really happened, but this part we're not sure about. And this part, let's talk about that.
yeah, Enric, I was just using that as an example. But if there was a major collapse, and if the United States did collapse, and that would take down Mexico and Canada, you will I will bet you every dollar you have in the bank that the World Bank will come up and restart the idea of the Amero. And you know what the crazy thing is? A hell of a lot of people will have never heard of it before and be thankful for somebody to help them out.
Oh, yet we all have Bitcoin going around. Moving on.
Yeah,
Pinoid News said we were smarter than politicians. Is that insulting us or complimenting us? I'm
yeah,
not
really.
really sure.
You're smarter than lawn scum. What was the latest? It was the Congress and cockroaches. Who was higher on the lovable scale, and cockroaches won or something like that.
Oh, I don't know. All right, so let's divert back to this conspiracy for a moment. Let's say
Which one?
government and
We
good
started
question.
with we started with weather. Damn it!
Yeah, we're working back to that. So
Then
let's
we
say
went into
government and
mind
or
control. Then we went into mind control. Then we went into financial.
okay,
Where
but we're
the
gonna
hell
circle
are we?
around for a reason. So let's
Where the hell
say
are we?
the government and or corporate and or black agency development processes are out
Okay.
there trying to control, inhibit and or destroy and kill the human population at their
Well,
whim, their desire, their disposal. They don't care. Maybe they do care. Maybe there's a plan. Maybe there's not. But they're
we
using
talked
the
about it.
weather.
We talked about this a little bit. I mean, all this is about money too.
No
I mean,
more MK Ultra. Not right now, Henrik. Well, no, I've looked at MK Ultra. We're not doing that right now. The
but you know,
weather.
all this is about money, and we all know that the top 1% has owns more than half the globe. At this point, it's probably 75% of the globe, and everything goes to a point that leads to the top, right?
Okay.
So so even when it comes to these black budgets and these black budgets, which have huge sums of money involved, wouldn't you think those same corporations, those same big global, the top five, the top 10 global corporations don't have their hand in it?
Yeah, I'm willing to bet they do. Probably along the same ones that the government works with so strongly, like banks with the most money to win or lose. Let's put it this way. We understand that weather seems uncontrollable. It's absolute. It's either absolutely destructive or absolutely misses you and you don't get what you need. It would be weird to think that any entity could control the building or the decreasing of any storm. And with knowledge or even implication that something could, there is a government treaty between 70 something countries that says they won't use weather control in any war or
Hell,
any
government
use
treaty
against each
that
other.
we have a government treaty that says we're not going to put the military in space or weapons in space.
Do we?
Okay, so yeah, so what the hell is Space Force?
It's a science and testing
you know,
laboratory meant to explore the universe.
we had a treaty about not playing with germ warfare. What the
We
hell
do
are they
have
doing?
super soldiers.
Yeah, then what the hell are they doing at Fort Detrick in Maryland? They have a warfare section there. Where the hell did the dust come from during 9/11? The what the hell was it called? The what the hell is it? Remember the dust that was sent to Congress people in envelopes?
I don't, but it was some of the debris that was on the ground, wasn't it?
No, the
Oh,
germ
anthrax. You're talking
anthrax.
anthrax, germ warfare.
They figured out that anthrax came from friggin' the U.S. military, that strain of it.
Yeah, we
Okay,
never heard anything more about that.
so how the hell was it somebody in the Middle East when it was somebody in the military? So yeah, we sign a lot of papers, we make a lot of agreements. The shit that happens behind closed doors in the dark in these black budget projects, that they don't even follow the damn constitution, let alone any agreements the government's made.
So here's a weird one that made sense to me. You don't even have to explain this one to me, Data. There is a very strong entity we will mention again here in a moment that would be fully behind the creation of storms, disasters, uh, cleanup, both the active disaster and the aftermath. There is an organization, a group of companies that knowingly rob you blind, but you just kind of overlook it. It's like protein buildups in the front of your retina. You see them, but because you're not paying attention to them, they're not really there. But it's still there. It doesn't go away. Your
I've
brain
got
ignores it.
here's something for you. Let's say you got
Well,
a
hold on.
guy.
Let me finish this though. Who benefits the most from a storm? From all that destruction? From all the cleanup?
Well, the people that are cleaning up and rebuilding.
No.
What do you mean
How do
no?
you pay the people?
What do you mean how they get paid eventually?
By who? Through what?
Insurance companies,
Where does your insurance get the
government
money?
institutions.
Where does your insurance get the money?
What do you mean the bank?
There you go.
It all comes down to the bank. Yeah. The more
Okay.
the more money is spent, the more the bank makes because it's all about the debt
And let's
and
say you have a house and you're broke and a storm hits and your insurance pays out some of it, but you need to take a home loan out to replace this, this, and that and get a new car. The fact that
right,
it forces the economy to move means the money that people had in the bank is going to decrease. The interest they can get on loans is going to increase.
right.
Their financial set, no matter what. Without a
Yeah.
storm, without something that forces that along, they don't get that increase.
Well, here's one for you. What about a guy who has the ability of controlling the weather, and he goes ahead and buys futures of orange juice from Florida, and then makes sure that winter lasts a little longer.
How about this? I'm gonna get remarried here in a couple years. We'll call it my 5th wedding anniversary. And with the $300,000 I really don't have, I'm gonna have a blue sky wedding.
Oh yeah, you saw that?
Oh,
Yeah,
I've seen that for years. It's been out for several years.
yeah. It's an ad. It's an ad to guarantee no rain on your wedding day.
I
All
used
you
to
have to
joke
do.
about that with people, and they were like, "No, you're not serious." I was like, "No, it's on the internet. Look it up. You can have a blue sky wedding if you want one. It's going to cost you about 300-400 grand minimum."
Yep,
But it's
yep,
actually done. People actually do this.
yeah.
Companies are hired for large corporate weddings and scales,
Right.
and they get a
Well,
blue
I mean,
sky.
there's people with more money than God.
More money than I know how to count. But
Well, more money than they even know they have.
so we understand. I wanted to get to a point with the weather today, but I wanted to include plenty of conspiracy theory for, a conspiracy theory show. But I want to get somewhere. Let's look at the maybe not unthought of, but uncared for outcome of the weather manipulation. Whether we look at the chemicals that are used and being dropped on people, with the possibility of nanotechnology, which spurs some weird movies. If you want to know, look up red wine test
Yeah,
and or
not movies.
morgellons.
Yeah. Well, Morgellons supposedly is
Is it
a benefit.
legitimate disease?
Well, no, not only that, but it's actually a benefit. The ongoing thought is that the Morgellons is actually a reaction to all the nanotechnology, and it's the body trying to purge itself of it, as opposed
Huh.
to let the technology do what it was designed to do.
Okay, so if you want to get freaked out, see you later, TA. Check out a red wine test. It's like a minute long. It's a petri dish. I've seen a few of them. I'm looking for one a little convincing. But the
Well,
red wine test is
the
kind
one
of
you showed,
scary.
the one you showed me was pretty damn convincing.
Right?
I
There's.
mean,
Wow!
it was practically jumping out of the damn dish.
Out of the person's mouth, and then you add a powder that collects the contaminants, and then they circled the powder around in a couple of spots, and then you can literally see it. So I found the original clip for that. I wish I could show it, but I tried to do a screen share while you were talking. It won't let me on something else. Um, I found the original clip for that petri dish experiment. It doesn't start until after they add in the mixture.
Right.
So I would like to have seen one all the way through. Now I did see one where the guy did the test, he did the timer, he showed the paperwork he was reading lightly, and then did the spit test and said you can't see it with this camera, but they're moving in there. Guys, this is gonna freak you out. This is a red wine spit test. If you're unconvinced, red wine spit to test and type in, clouds, weather manipulation, something like that, and you'll get something. We're losing viewers. It's 8 o'clock. Time to go see Ghostly, Ghastly, and AP. We are wrapping up. Yeah, Henrik, you really have to. Just, I warn you, at some point you need to realize when to walk away and stop watching videos, because after you click the first one, you're going to keep looking. There's another one with hematite magnet, low grade magnet, where he's running it across his neck and lights show up because of the activity between the magnet and the nanobots under the skin. Another freaky one, kind
There's
of a
a
little freaked out.
there's a 2 hour symposium with a German scientist who basically has researched into all of this and the morgellons and whatnot. And he's even found the company, the corporation that patented the colors of the strings of the morgellons.
What?
And if you go to that website of that company, they are proud in the fact that they are the leading edge of nanotechnology and how they are building um, uh, radio communications in nanotech, nanotech that emits light, nanotech that reads light, and basically the nanotech they're talking about can literally turn DNA into a computer.
To think about this, um, with no
Imagine,
actual personal
imagine,
care,
imagine a
so
radio.
cool.
Imagine a radio receiver nanotech, literally on your brain's nerve endings, where somebody could literally input signals directly into your thoughts.
Here's a weird one. Let's twist your mind a minute. Have you ever stuck a radio antenna in the water? Not the radio, just the antenna.
No, I can't say that I have.
Okay. You know, your signal gets no better when you stick a radio antenna in the water. Just saying. You can stick it in any body of water anywhere. It gets no better, right?
John Doe, yes, that is nanotech on a very, very small scale, but we're talking about self replicating nanotech, nanotech that literally builds itself into units. But yeah, go ahead. What
Okay.
happens when you put the antenna in the water?
Nothing. When you put a radio antenna up against a steel I beam, you tend to get better service, right?
You would
When you put
think.
it up against another piece of metal, add another piece of metal, extend it for it to catch the radio signal, it gets better service, right?
Right.
This has always weirded me out. I've tried this experiment. Now, granted, I'm not a scientist. This isn't a scientific experiment. This is just a numbskull. Stick your radio antenna in the water. It's not going to help any. The service doesn't get any better. It gets harder to tune. Stick your radio antenna on metal. It gets easier to tune. Does anybody ever have the problem where they can't get the radio to tune, and when you do, you're adjusting it and you get it tuned just right, but as soon as you take your finger off, it's gone?
Right.
Now, I know we have a little iron in our body, but is it enough to make you a metal pillar as
Maybe
opposed to the 70 to 80% water constitution that makes up your body?
maybe we're an amplifier. The electrical energy in our bodies is amplifying the signal. I mean, you've seen those. What are they?
I have
Those
never gotten
pictures.
better radio signal by sticking my radio's antenna in the water, John Doe. That is true. I'm not
Uh,
going to stick the whole radio in there, just the antenna.
the auroras, the auras. Have you ever seen aura pictures of
Yeah.
people? And like they'll have a carrot, right? And they'll do a aura picture of a carrot, and then they'll cut the carrot in half, and the aura stays the same as the full carrot, even with the piece gone. And they do it with hands and people and heads and all different colors come out and whatnot. Maybe that energy you see in those pictures has something to do with your increasing your radio your ability of your radio to receive more.
Okay. Okay, now I'll grant you submarines are low frequency. Yes, you can communicate underwater. Yes, but we don't transmit broadband radio frequencies underwater. Therefore, sticking your radio antenna underwater is
No,
not
subs.
going to
Matter of
help.
fact, subs have to float an antenna all the way up to the surface to be able to communicate.
But if the weather controls you, this was going to be my final thing I wanted to add in. Inevitably, you realize that for every action, there's an equal or opposite reaction. Somebody smart said that once. Now, if we're controlling the weather and trying to increase or decrease what happens to the weather in one section of the world, wouldn't we be then increasing or decreasing by some projection what happens in the next section of the world? So,
Oh,
for instance, if a storm were to travel around the world, we know that it would follow the Coriolis paths and move up and down, north and south through the atmosphere as it worked its way around. Usually east to west, usually east to west within a body of water. Now, if we're creating or manipulating these storms and these forecasts, then inevitably that's going to change what would have normally happened further down the course of that storm. So then we're altering. Now, I'm not saying nature is a separate entity. I'm saying nature, what happens in storms and clouds, is an inherent reaction of the interaction between the planet and the atmosphere. And if we change that to where the planet stirs something up and it means to move cool air around, but we make the storm dump too soon, and then a hot air cell remains somewhere where it would have normally moved out, then we begin to have polar caps a little warmer, or a heat
but
cell
I
moves
think
south that we can't
I think I think you're
figure
talking.
out.
I think you're talking about the butterfly effect. In other words, any change anywhere, we don't know where that change will lead. It could multiply. It could spread. A flapping of a butterfly wing in the Amazon could make a storm in New York
How
that much
many
stronger.
areas have we deserted? Deserted?
Desert did it.
Yeah. Not
Desert.
deserted.
No,
Deserted.
no. That isn't the
Think
word.
about that. We've warmed up the caps. If we want to commit this to global warming, let's say maybe a hair bit to weather manipulation. I'd say if it were global warming, it's got to be a lot of weather manipulation added into that. Trying to control the weather to adjust for the global warming that we've
What
done even.
warming? What warming? There's more ice on the poles. The deserts are actually receding. What warming are you talking about? Hell, it snowed in the fucking in the Sinai. I mean, what
Hold
warming
on,
are we
but
talking
you're
about?
you're catching the other side. If we think the planet is warming, so we make action to cool the planet, the actions that we take are not fully encompassing of the planet. So whatever actions we're making to try and make whatever correction we think we should make, isn't happening on the scale it needs to happen for it to succeed properly. And with that being said, we're worsening the problem. Where the
Right.
areas that we're creating and seeing the problem are the byproduct of us trying to fix the problem that's not necessarily existent.
I want to leave on one fun fact, and it was something that John Dojo said about low frequency communication. Did you know this is something new? Well, not very new, but within a few years or maybe a decade ago. Elephants. Elephants have really big ears, right?
Yeah.
Well, for the longest time, we thought that those ears were basically for cooling, and it wasn't until somebody sped up a recording of elephants talking that they heard something on the subsonic level. And now they realize that elephants communicate subsonically. They 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 communicate. The reason they communicate subsonically is because subsonic waves permeate and go far distances. So now we know that elephants can actually be in conversations with other elephants miles and miles and miles away, as if they were whales in the ocean communicating, talking to another whale 100 miles away. Elephants can talk to other elephants 10 miles away. We don't know how far.
That is interesting.
Is that
Because
a wild fun fact?
if you think about that, don't we? Wasn't there a study done? I think elephants were one of them, and there it was in the late 90s, early 2000s. There was a study done over whether certain animals had telepathic abilities because we were unable to determine how they communicated, and we couldn't figure out certain things.
Right.
And so
Well,
they went on the basis that they were telepathic because you could teach an elephant and a few other animals something in one area and then bring new ones in and they kind of already know how to do it.
it also sort of, I mean, it possibly could explain these situations where an elephant all of a sudden freaks out. Maybe it's trying to get to somebody, it's another elephant that is being hurt or needs help or whatnot. So yeah, a fun fact. It was something, and that goes to show you that we're still learning a lot of things. There's still stuff that's out
We're
of our
always
sight,
learning.
out of our hearing, out of our heads.
This has been on my mind lately, but you're always learning, whether it be a conspiracy theory or political news out there. Your exposure to something makes you learn something.
I
If
don't
you
know if
think you know it all and you don't want to be exposed to new items, then you're not going to be smart enough to understand other things that are going on because you have no correlation and no perspective to assign to things. So sometimes it's fun looking at what could be crazy
yeah,
and offering it enough validity to look at it and pick it apart.
Looney Tunes.
Why do elephants freak out over mice?
I don't know if they do. I mean, that was on Looney Tunes, and I don't know if you want to take all your elephant information from 1950s and 60s cartoons, though a lot of people do. I
I
mean, hell.
wonder. Hold
I
on.
mean, I
Fair
mean,
assessment.
hell.
You ever wonder if maybe elephants are afraid of something that's large enough for them to see and small enough to climb up their trunk?
Hell, if Christians believe that the Earth is only 6,000 years old, they also believe that Flintstones was a reality.
If you see bugs crawling for your mouth, don't you get a little disgusted? Mice crawl for little tiny holes. When if you were an elephant and you saw a mouse and you were trying to sleep, and that thing was small enough to get in your trunk but big enough for you to see moving around, that would freak you out a little bit. Stay out of my nose. Get out of my nose. All of a sudden, you see a mouse being launched in the air by an elephant trunk.
We did not see a Mythbusters on this.
All right, guys. Probably. I think our time is down for the night. Thank you so much, Cryptic, for the $10 donation. Awesome. I'm gonna have to get with Data and make sure he gets some of that, half of whatever I got. And we'll work on that after the show. Thank you, everybody. There have been so many of you that showed up. Some of you stayed, some of you left, some of you left and came back. It's so awesome to have you here. I know the conversation can seem so odd, but then isn't life just a bit odd, at least?
Well, what is it? Truth is can be stranger than fiction.
There you go. Thank you, everybody. We're gonna figure out what screen I'm looking at here and kick you over and make sure we remind you to
Thank you, everybody.
slap,
Thank you,
hit, kick, lick, whatever you want to do with any and all the buttons on your way out.
Yes, sub and all those good things. I want to thank everybody for spending your Saturday night with us, and hopefully we'll see you again. Same time, same place.
And I'll put up another poll if Data and I don't have something by midweek. This has been your random and weather manipulation 50/50 stream. I hope it's been random and weather manipulating enough for you. Have a good night, everybody.
Bye.